Well, hello, good afternoon for most, and good morning for some. Thank you so much for joining us and being here as we are getting our space started. With me here, co-hosting is Paul. Welcome, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, how's it going? How you doing?
What's up, team?
Oh, just another day of loveliness and
Loveliness.
hosting with you. Excited about this space.
I'm
So is,
excited too.
yeah, this is great. We have Sinbad today. So Sinbad, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good to have you. Good to have you.
Welcome, Sinbad. I don't know if you're joining us from New York or if you're still in Spain.
I'm still in Spain, and actually, I extended my stay in Spain. We have some opportunities over here that we're excited to explore, and so unfortunately, our Basel plans are getting canceled. But excited to tell you guys more about what our adventures in Europe are going to look like over the next few years.
I'm so excited to hear. And before we dive in, for those joining and don't know who's the voice behind the lighter account, my name is Abrahani for short. You're welcome to call me Annie. I had the lovely pleasure of meeting Sinbad and his partner, Mr. Kai or Mr. K, in New York at the art festival that happened just a month ago. And so, very, very special time with Sinbad and his team, over at the art festival. And so I'm looking forward to, hearing about this. Paul is also a fellow New Yorker. I'm a fellow New Yorker. We're all in different locations now, but I'm excited to hear, how the New York venture turned into all these new opportunities and things to come. And so I'm excited to hear from you. But with that said, Paul, would you get us started while I look for some great, top board posts here?
Nice. Absolutely. Sinbad, we always like to start off this space with just opening the floor to you and just for you to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, how you got here, and why you're sticking around. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. It's quite a long story, but I will keep it as concise as possible. I started collecting in 2021 when I moved to Italy to study the history of the Renaissance and the Medici family. Because I saw that there were some parallels between the Renaissance and the blockchain movement, and the fact I was very excited by the fact that there was an art movement happening at the same time as these incredible technological achievements were happening. And so I moved to Florence to study all these things and to start Trenta Campos Elíseos, which became a collectors group that has people from all over the world coming together to support art. So that's kind of how I got to where we are today. But we saw an opportunity that, or not an opportunity, we were kind of displeased with the in real life events that we went to, and we had the connections to, um, objectively do them better. So we just started doing them, and then eventually I ended up meeting Kay in NFT NYC about a year, or actually less than a year ago. And after a few chats, we realized there were a lot of synergies. We partnered up, started Linda, and well, now we've done 4 shows since, and we're going to be doing many more. Did I get everything that I was supposed to share?
How did you enter the NFT space? Or what drew you into this, crypto digital format?
I'm sorry, I think it cut out a little bit. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what drew you to the NFT digital space, the crypto?
I mean, I had been buying crypto since 2017. Didn't really do anything with it. Just had it sitting there. I'm not a trader. I just bought it back in the day. But my family, we've always, collected art, physical art. So when I saw there was like a digital art movement that used all these things that I haven't done anything with in 5 years, I was like, this is a perfect thing to use my Ethereum on. So a non-conventional route compared to a lot of others in the space, but uh, and I think we've all converged into those who are still here to support the art. I think we're all, for the most part, on the same page about where this needs to go.
Yeah, that's great. It is interesting. I always wonder, like, and you confirmed like that there are people out there that are just like, well, I have this asset, this. this coin, this tokenized coin. Like, what do I do with it? And when art came along, it seems like a natural connection. And then your proclivity to support the art already. Yeah, the natural connection. I love that. Speaking of your art collection, do you remember your first piece that you collected that like struck you and you were like, oh man, I want to buy this, and what made it stand out to you, if you do remember?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my first piece that was not on chain, I was probably 15 years old, and it was a Cuban artist, a Cuban photographer, who did these incredible concepts of taking photos from inside the driver's seat of a car. And he had a bunch of landscape shots with different perspectives of classic cars from the 1950s. So that's the first piece that I collected personally. But I've been gifted pieces since I was young, like physical works, since probably my baptism. I can't even remember. But as far as crypto art, the first piece that I collected was actually my PFP right now. And it's a modern interpretation of the creation of Adam, inspired in the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo. And the artist, who's a really good friend, and hopefully I will be able to present him to everyone soon. He's an architect, very talented, multidisciplinary artist, whose philosophy aligns very closely to mine. And so when he showed me this piece, we discussed, the convergence of art and religion and the belief or different beliefs in the creation stories. And after many hours of discourse and debate, we kind of agreed that at the end of the day, what this piece represents is the virtue of faith, that we don't really know what the absolute truth is, and at some point you have to have a leap of faith into what your belief system is. And so that's what I can talk about specifically about this piece. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. I really love that. It's always, I just love hearing how what stands out to people. And then like, again, like art can be not only something that like is a one-way street as far as like experiential, and you're witnessing it and you're taking it in and you're applying it subjectively to where you are in life at that moment. And I think sometimes those things can change over time, or evolve. But I also love that, especially this piece, the first piece that you purchased um, was a conversation, sparked a conversation. And yeah, that there's discourse in that conversation, but at the end there is an understanding mutually of whatever. But it was not whatever in a dismissive way, but like there can be discourse, and there can be conversation, and there can be agreement to see things differently. But know that there's an underlying fact in all of it. So yeah, no, thank you for sharing that with us.
For sure.
So, Sinbad, you, after being in this space for a little, you began and you built a collective group called the 30 Campos Eliseo, dedicated to finding and promoting artists. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Like, when did you start that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so like I said earlier, I moved to Florence to study the history of the Renaissance and the Medici family, and how we could, mirror that in the context of the 21st century and the rise of artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc. So I went in search of artists. I was already planning to go start collecting, and so this specific piece, that's my PFP, is kind of where it all started. We met a lot of people during our adventures in Italy, and those who we found who had like-minded values or ideas, we invited them to join our collectors group. And so it was just a bunch of intellectuals traveling Italy, having dinners, drinking a lot of wine, and imagining a better future through art and through culture. And so that's kind of how it all started. And then when everyone kind of went back to their homes, we realized we actually built a fairly solid international network of people who were working on some really incredible things. And so then we decided to scale this as much as possible. And now there's over 50 of us around the world, and everyone in the group is an entrepreneur or a renowned person in their respective industry, where they're working on some really cool things. So there's just a very valuable group of collectors that were not crypto native. So I think that's a big difference from us and a lot of others. Almost everyone, I would say, apart from maybe 2 or 3, were not in crypto as of a year and a half ago. So everyone's been onboarded, and like the main focus is to be patrons of the art and to practice enlightened patronage, is not just buying things because of trends or hype, but to actually have an intellectual proposal to what we're building. And so that's kind of the essence of our group. And that's why we tend to be fairly low key until recently, when we've been promoting a lot of our IRL events. But we really value the long-term vision of a new renaissance. A digital enlightenment is what we call it internally, because this is going to transcend our generations. So our main goal is to be remembered 500 years, 1,000 years from now.
This is amazing. Like, I love the idea. I love the sentiment. I love the motivation behind it. You know, it's interesting that you went to Italy to study a family who were patrons of the arts, and remembered, you know, centuries beyond their lifespan, and that is something that you are hoping um, to institute with what you're doing. And it's so absolutely, I think, important to have people. Um, to be patrons of the arts, to truly do it because of the love of the art, and as you see that there's value in it. So we all collectively thank you for your efforts and the efforts of the people that are around you. You kind of just answered our next question, but we always like to ask, in what ways has the Web3 community influenced your collection and or shaped your experience in the space? Just dive a little bit deeper into how you're moving through the community of artists, of collectors, and being a bridge between both. Yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. And like I mentioned a bit ago, most of our collectors are not Web3 native. They've been onboarded. So up to now, we haven't had that many people from within the community already join our group internally. Obviously, as we keep growing, I know that's going to change. But we typically don't really pay attention to any of the trends or the or the timeline. Like, we're up to date for the most part, but we don't really, well, we don't really care is the wrong term, but we just don't. We're not sensitive to short-term sentiment. I think we're really focused, like I said, on the long term, and the way that we talk about it to potential future collectors is that we're building something that's bigger than ourselves. And at the end of the day, we don't know exactly which specific artist or artwork is going to be the next, Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci. But if we play a role in fomenting these kinds of conversations around the world, not only on social media, but in different countries, maybe not just in NFT NYC, but all over the world, I think that with technology, we have the power to do that, which is like unprecedented relative to how history has been. So I think that the way we approach collecting is by finding artists that are like-minded in these values, and that honestly pursue self-improvement in every aspect of their trade every day. So we love to see artists experiment with different mediums and to try new things, to study art history. It's surprising how much people don't know, artists, not specifically, but people in our space don't know about art history. Pre-Basquiat, because everyone tends to be an expert on everything post-Basquiat. But I think that for us, it's really important to cultivate looking to the past for wisdom, while we're thinking about how we want to build the future.
I love to hear that, especially because we're building something bigger than ourselves, and you are looking beyond our time frame. It's what happens after our time frame and what we're building and setting the structure up now that matters for the future. And I think that's so important. And as artists, we want our art to live longer than our time frame here on Earth, right? Time is so fleeting and quickly passing. And so I love what you're building. When I met you, you and I were talking about the screens displayed and how you wanted to change the game, how people saw, appreciated, but experienced the art through screens. And I want you to tap a little bit more into that, because I think you guys are doing a fantastic job, and you've taken these screens to other IRL events. And so can you touch on that?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess when I'll go back a little bit, when we were in Italy, we started learning about all these different festivals and fairs and things that were happening within the industry, and we were thinking about, hey, how can we get our collections to be displayed at those shows? So one, we can go party there and meet more people, but also to support the artists that we collect from and give them an opportunity to build their resume. And so we, after a lot of time and capital invested into making that happen, we were all happy to go to Art Basel for the first time. And I'll keep it short. I was just very disappointed with the experience. Now that it's been a few years, I say it nicely. I think I lost my shit back in the day. But I have a very strong background in manufacturing, across Latin America and in China. So I called one of my contacts in China and I asked them to find me the best screens they could find and send me 30 to New York because we were going to do a show. And so we did that. And then about 2 years ago, we partnered with Loki Ventures to do a show in Tribeca, fairly close to Loom Studios, actually. And I think that was our debut as far as IRL events. And since then, we've done shows, well, several in Madrid, one in Dubai, and I lost track of the ones in New York, maybe 5, 6. But yeah, so that one of our main goals is to display the artwork. TVs are not good enough. I think if artists are spending countless hours to create something, not just even for displaying, but for collecting, I think people need to invest. If you're investing so much money or spending so much money on an artwork, you should at least set aside some budget to have a proper way to display it. So that's kind of how our philosophy to building superior displays started, because one, you have to do justice to the artist and to the artwork, and two, it should be intuitive. I don't understand why everyone's not doing this. But it's not just even people in the space. As I've gone to museums around the world, the displays they use for their digital installations isn't great in general. There are exceptions. I've seen some in Italy that are stellar and in other places. But I digress. It's that's kind of the philosophy. Good displays, because that should be the standard. It shouldn't be like a plus.
Absolutely. I think also technology keeps improving and keeps accelerating the way images are displayed on a screen. But I do agree that if you are intentional about putting up an art show, displays have to be a priority. And so that's great to hear. So tell us how you get now to in Spain, where you are right now. Tell us a little bit about that conversation and the inspiration that drew you guys, both Linda Global with Kay and yourself, to Spain, and what you guys did this past weekend.
Yeah, for sure. So out of context, there's a good amount of our collectors that are based here in Madrid and in Spain. So Kay and I went to Florence to start setting everything up for Primavera Digitale. And we said, hey, like he's thinking about moving to Spain maybe, and so he was thinking about Barcelona. And I told him, like, hey, fine, but come check out Madrid first, and then if you don't like it, then go to Barcelona, but just check out Madrid first. And so we planned to go to Florence, set everything up there, and then come to Madrid first, so we can show him around the city. And then Mireia, who I got the pleasure to meet her during the DAM residency maybe a month and a half ago. She mentioned that she had some connections to do something cool in Madrid, so we got on a call with her, and we put the exhibition together in about 7 days, maybe something like that, or 10 days. And so that's kind of how we ended up doing the Elysium Collectors Conclave last weekend. At the end of the day, since we had such a short time frame, we didn't want to make it that public, so we just invited our collectors that are in Madrid to invite close friends and people of note that they know here in Madrid. And then we just hung out and talked about, our plans for the future, what we're going to do in Florence, and how we're going to scale that moving forward using Florence as the blueprint.
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah, like just the amount of intention, I think is refreshing to hear as an artist. So I may just continuously thank you for the rest of the space, just for everything that you say. So just be prepared that that might happen.
No worries.
um, um, one last question, and then we're going to open it up to some Q&A from people down, should they choose to come on up and participate. But we always like to ask collectors when they come and pay us a visit and spend some time with us, what's the single most important piece of advice that you would offer an artist, either in this space or straddling the trad art and digital art space? But if you had that one pearl of wisdom, what would that be?
Oof, difficult question. First, I have to preface by saying that at the end of the day, take my opinion with a grain of salt, because what do I know? But if I had to share something, and this is what I talk to the artists that I end up collecting from, is that you should be on a path of continuous self-improvement. Every day you should wake up and ask yourself how you can get better and what that looks like. And so in specific terms of your art, what I've told my artists is, pick the best that I've ever lived and try to be better than them. So even if you're a photographer, like go study Caravaggio, go study Picasso, see what made them that great. Try to be better than them, like just by copying them. And then how do you implement that into your specific style? Like that's just an example, but just try to be the best version of yourself every day. And I think that's going to lead you to like unprecedented success. And I think that's the culture we try to cultivate, not only within our artists, but in our collectors group, and with everyone we speak to. And that's, I think, what the whole essence of the Renaissance was. But again, like I said, take my opinion with a grain of salt. If it helps you, it helps you. If it doesn't, throw it out the window and find something else.
You are a wealth of knowledge, so I know that there's a lot of in-depth conversation that we can have with you for a long, long time, because I feel like you have so much knowledge. You have so much art history background too, that we can all learn from. But in the process of, we invite people to come up and ask you questions. Tell us about this exciting project that you have, Primavera Digitale Digital Spring Art Festival in Florence, Italy. When is it? How can artists get there? How can their artwork get there? And what are you and Kay working on?
Of course. And I guess one last thing before there are a couple closing thoughts before I talk about Primavera Digitale. As far as like our exhibitions, I'm very excited about the work that we're doing. Though I know they're not perfect. So if anyone ever has thoughts or comments of how we can improve, we're always open to hearing these ideas. At the end of the day, we're not gallerists. We're not curators. We're just collectors that, we've been doing our own shows because we haven't felt that there are that many people doing a great job. I would eventually like to move away from doing shows and just let specific gallerists and curators do it themselves, and then we can just do what we like to do, which is collect and drink wine and have fun. But in the meantime, we're open. We're an open box. If you have suggestions, we're always happy to take them. And then another thing you mentioned about, my background in art history, and everything has been self-taught. Like I studied economics. I never took an art history class. Everything has been self-taught, just my curiosity of going to learn about different things. So I don't know. I would not classify myself as an expert by any means, but there's so much knowledge out there if you just go look for it. So, it's not rocket science when people ask, like, oh, how do I learn this? Like, go look it up. Like, it's out there. And especially now with AI, you can find, there's so much information at your fingertips, that it's impossible, I mean, it's just frustrating when people ask me like, oh, how'd you learn so much? Like, oh, well, you just have a background in art. It's like, well, I didn't have a background in art until 2-3 years ago, right? I just went and read about it. So that's another thing, like, go learn as much as you can and be curious. So yeah, I'll stop there, but just, 2 thoughts based on previous questions. Now, Primavera Digitale. So, 30 Campos Elíseos and Linda Global are coming together, along with a couple other organizations like the Way and Hope Foundation and some others, to organize a week-long festival in Florence, that's going to celebrate the history of the Renaissance in the context of this crypto art digital revolution that we're all in. So that's going to look like exhibitions, educational workshops and panels, both for people that are coming from abroad, but also for local universities and local students. One of our main goals for this festival is education, working with institutions and academics to create an intellectual proposal about what's actually happening in our space, and getting ingrained with people that are outside of the space. So that's going to look, like I said, classes, workshops, artist residencies, and just integrating with the local community. we're also going to be hosting a series of social events so that people can come and have fun, have a good time, try amazing food, try amazing wine. So we're going to be maybe renting out. We are going to be renting out a vineyard in Tuscany and a couple other things. We haven't announced anything specific yet because we will be doing that in the next couple of weeks. But there's a lot of exciting stuff coming. And yeah, is there anything specific I missed? Because I know I went talking for a while.
No, yeah, so the time frame, the date, I know that it's like a long period of time between March and April, but is there something specific, like a specific date for our residencies, art, the social events? How can people plan? How can artists be a part of it? Are you doing open calls?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I got lost in my own thoughts. So the festival itself will be from the 31st of March through the 6th of April. So it's about a week long. But we're going to have artist residencies running for a few weeks before that so that we can interact with the locals, like I said. And so by the time the festival comes and everyone comes from abroad, the locals have already gotten a taste of what we're working on. And so, like I said, in my opinions of how artists should study and approach their creation, in the artist residencies, we're going to incorporate classes on sculpture, Renaissance sketching, so that even if artists that work with digital mediums, they can start practicing, experimenting with different techniques and practices. So we want to make a multidisciplinary experience for everyone that comes, whether they're artists or collectors or even people that just want to experience the festival. Now, as far as getting involved, we will be doing a series of open calls. There's going to be at least 5 or 6 different exhibitions, perhaps more. And we'll be doing open calls. We'll have some curators from some of the local galleries and some museums in Florence participate. So we'll be announcing those on social media, so keep your eye out. Now, one of the things that we did close is a partnership with a hotel in Florence, and they have given everyone that comes for the festival a 20% discount if they choose to stay there. So we will also be announcing that in the next couple of days, but just wanted to throw that out there if you're planning on coming. We're making some good deals. Let me see. Anything else? Again, I got lost in the thoughts.
No, this is amazing. First of all, like Paul was saying, thank you for putting together something that is not only just for collectors. This is very much artist specific. Learn, eat, enjoy culture. um, so much thought behind this, and I know that it's not just you, but what a great opportunity for those listening that can join in and be a part of a movement, an art movement, and not just for collectors, but for artists, and not just the art side, but then the cultural side of things. And I think that that is incredible. It's such a great opportunity. So I guess we would be pending on information so that people can know where to go, how to book, and all those beautiful things that happen. Very interesting to hear an in real life movement such as an art festival for a week. I think that's a lot to put on. And so just want to say thank you for doing that hard work that you're putting into it. At this time, if anyone from the audience want to come up and want to ask Sinbad a question, this is the time to do it. I think Rachel and I for sure will be there. I'm grateful that we get the opportunity to support you in this art festival time. So I'm looking forward to our time together and to help be part of the team that involved in the movement. But if anyone is out there and want to come up and ask a question, feel free. Um, yeah, if you want to go ahead and add.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that, once I'm so excited for people to come to Florence and see my Florence, because it inspired me so much, and to be honest, it was a life-changing experience for me. And that city will do the magic by itself. Like, apart from all the amazing events we're going to be organizing, once people see what happened in Florence 500 to 600 years ago and how it changed the world, the Western world at least, I think people will very quickly create the links to what we're working on right now and the potential that we have, especially with the powerful tools like technology. So I'm super excited to see everyone there. And yeah, hit me with any questions.
Awesome. Well, we have two speakers now, and if anyone is out there want to come up to speak, please feel free to come up. But we'll start with Ada. Hi, Ada. How are you? Your artwork was just displayed this weekend in Spain. How do you feel about that? And then go ahead and ask the question.
Hi, thank you for having me. Well, I'm happy as you can hear, and that's why I came up actually to say thank you, because we were just DMing and then, just writing. But as you had Sinbad as a guest, I wanted to say in person, or at least with a voice, thank you, and I'm happy you hosted my work. It's been a pleasure, and I'll keep an eye on you guys. Maybe we'll do something together in the future. That would be nice. And I hope I get to see you in Florence in March. That's it, I guess. No questions. Thanks.
Thank you. No, it was an honor to showcase your work. Thank you for creating it and sharing it with the world. Artists like yourself and like everyone in the space are the reason why we spend so much time doing this. So thank you for working with us.
Yeah, I believe the circle is closing, with this kind of events, because everyone is working on their side, like the collectors, the gallerists and curators. And then we come together only thanks to this kind of events, right? So, we don't create for nothing or just for ourselves or for the people we work with. And again, also, you have, someone and something to invest in and enjoy. So yeah, I believe it's beautiful. So thanks again. Cheers. Virtual one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we'll have a glass of wine together in Florence. And I guess something you mentioned that spoke to me and I resonated with is that you said everything's kind of fractionalizing and we're kind of pulling in their own direction. Which I understand because it has been a difficult past few years, given the state of the markets and how people have been, or overall sentiment of what the crypto art and NFT the digital space looks like. But I think one of the main pillars of our group and with Linda and with people is to build a unified front, find people and organizations and individuals who are doing things right and partnering with them so that we build a unified front around the globe to do events, to educate people, to onboard, to get people inspired and to really foment a digital enlightenment, like we like to say. And so if you know of anyone or you yourself want to get involved in one way or another, let's talk and we'll try our best to see where we can fit you in.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so sorry, Ada. You
sorry,
go ahead. No, you go right ahead.
last words. Yeah, actually, I think I will drop you a message or do the retweet thing and explain why I would like to be part of the event in March, because I do have some experience that you could benefit of, and also I can learn things from you. So yeah, that's why I said that maybe we can do something together, and I'll keep an eye on you. But yeah, with this, I'm done.
Okay. I look forward to reading your thoughts and to chatting a little bit more.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the space and for your patience and time. See you around, everyone.
We appreciate you coming up and being a part of it. And yeah, thank you. I just wanted to comment on the fact that you were saying that, you're working on getting people onboarded and educated. And, I think creators, artists are never going to stop creating. I think that's a big thing but we need an ecosystem where the art is being discovered and worked. Um, Not worked is being discovered, and appreciated and collected. And I love the sentiment again, Sinbad, that is present in your thought process and how you're moving through this space, not based on trends, but based on, you know, quality over quantity and intention. And you're looking at all the things that I think that artists want people to see, and appreciate about their work. So, yeah, it's, I can stop talking now and welcome, welcome Rachel, to speak. And, hello, friend. How are you?
Paul, hello. Hello. It's
Hey.
so nice to see your PFP and hear you. Hi, Abraham. It's nice to hear your voice as well. Um, Amazing space. Oh my goodness, this has gotten me so excited for Florence and April Sinbad. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to meet you in person because every time I hear you speak and talk about what you're doing and what you're building I'm always over here like nodding my head like, yes, yes, absolutely, totally. This is more of what we need. Wow. And Ada, congratulations. So nice to hear you being celebrated as an artist. I think you are wonderful. I've met you in person. So yes, truly, truly, if anyone in here wants to follow a really amazing artist, follow Ada up here. Excuse me. I don't really have many questions right now just because like my head's all over the place. It's super early over here in Indonesia, but I just wanted to say that anyone who's interested, please get involved with this Florence event. It is an art festival, and I think we definitely need more of that. So I'm going to be there, and I hope to see everyone else there.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it's we're going to use Florence as a blueprint for the rest of the world. I want people to go see what happened in Florence and get inspired, and then translating it to doing events, festivals that integrate local communities. It's not just the same 300 people going to Basel or NFTNYC and just hanging out with the same people. I really want people to go travel the world and evangelize and educate others on what's happening, what we can do together. So come to Florence if you can, and if not, we're going to be creating some virtual experiences so that even if you can't be there in person, you can experience some form of the festival. And if you can get involved and you want to get involved, I would say my DMs are open, but I actually don't check them. Just bother me and try to just find a way to get my attention. I try to take a look at them, but I just get swamped with a lot of stuff. But yeah, excited to make this come to life. I've been working for about 8 years on building this, so.
So exciting. I'm looking forward to it just because of the local participation. I think it's a big deal to be IRL, to be in real life and getting to know other artists, also learning about the culture. I think that's so important when we travel. But I love the idea that incorporating and building something for people to get discovered, but then also to onboard. I think that's the biggest thing that we've been needing for a long time in this space. It's great displays and onboarding, onboarding collectors. And I think the IRL experience, the physical, the looking at the physical and connecting them to a digital space is so important. And so I think this is a movement I want to support. It. I want to continue supporting Sinbad. So you know how to hit me up. But with that said, Blue, thank you so much for joining this stage. Thank you for being here.
Hi, you guys. I don't know how to start. I just wanted, I woke up out of a nap and realized that this space was on. The nap after one of the hardest days of my life, which I tweeted about, which I rarely tweet about. And there were several of you here in the room who said, I hope you get through this okay. And it was an extremely hard night, a hard day. It's been hard years and months and stuff. I unfortunately won't be able to be in Florence for a variety of reasons. Probably the most is because of my own health. There's other things going on in my life that other people know about. My mom. I mean, the thing is, I don't know where you start and you stop talking about yourself without saying art is so important to me that even if people disappoint you, even if you've already seen those treasures there, even if you can't collect if you would like to and you used to collect like me, because right now I can't afford to collect. I also couldn't afford to go to Florence unless I won the lottery or something. But I still went to Florence when I was 18, which I was incredibly lucky. And I did not go to any formal school. I have no formal training. I would squat in, leave work when I could in Paris, when I moved with $300 in my pocket where I live now, and squat in Beaux-Arts, leave my job when I could get away just so I could get in there and go into a guy's class that was a famous anatomy specialist who was like 2 years before he was going to leave. I don't know if I'm making any sense to you, but I support, the love of art that brings us all together. I don't know what's going to happen in my life tomorrow, but for some reason I feel better and I made it through this day. And a lot of people said, were supportive of me and said, we hope you get through today. And I do feel like here I am. I'm alive. I'm through it. I got through it. I still love art. I'm thrilled about the idea that you will be doing a project that has anything to do with the great masters and the things that I may have already seen, but other people's may not have. And I don't come from a rich background. When I went to see them when I was 18, I washed cars all summer, to go on one of those student trips, but I still got to see them. Anyway, the love of art is something that binds us together in a way that is just unfathomable. And there are so many things I don't understand. But I really was hesitating to jump in and say anything. And then I thought, these are my people. You guys are my people. I will not be able to be there physically to see you, but I am absolutely with you in spirit. And for many different reasons, many different people I'm looking at in this space, I love and care for you. And some of us, we've interacted individually. Some of us I've taken quite a bit more of a break off of doing spaces and stuff lately. Have no idea if I'm going to do them again. I may not. Would love to, like to talk to people. But anyway, I think just to say, perhaps the only conclusion I can come to is that I'm alive today. You guys are all alive today. We all love art. We're here. We can speak to each other. We can get through things. We can get through conflicts about how things need to happen in art. And we can also appreciate it and still come together in a way that absolutely venerates the most exquisite parts of all arts, all cultures, and of course the Renaissance is a very important part. It's not the most important part in world history of art for me, but it is incredibly important. So, that is, I think I'll stop there. And, it's really hard to even, compare what time frame in art is most important, which you have heard me talk about many times too, when we talk about cave art versus digital art. So I will stop there and thank you for letting me speak. Thanks. Bye. And
Thank you.
photography. Thank you. Bye.
I was going to say thank you for sharing, and I can't imagine what you're going through. But I know for me personally, art and Florence were my salvation. I dropped everything in my life to move to Florence during a fairly difficult time in my life. But
Which is what I did when I came to move to Paris, but it was about 20 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
yeah, and I think that I found comfort and healing and salvation, honestly, in the works of Botticelli and Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and in like the magnificence of Brunelleschi's dome. And so I think art is one of the most powerful things in the world, because the human heart naturally yearns for beauty, and it's a need to experience this. And so I think we're at an interesting point in history in that we can share beauty with everyone in the world, because almost everyone has access to a screen. And if they don't yet, they soon will, because of, like someone said earlier, technology is changing and evolving so quickly. And so instead of filling the world with advertising or other crap, let's fill it with art. Let's inspire people all over the world. We have these powerful tools at our disposal now. We just need to put the right content out there and have the right conversations that encourage diversity, encourage dialogue and discourse about what we want the world to look like through collaboration, through culture, through art. And I think that even if you can't be there in person, like, you will be there in spirit, and we'll be there representing you. And I always resort to this, and we say it internally, that life and misfortune come for all of us at some point, but we just have to wait and hope that things will get better, and that we will, if we didn't win today, we will win tomorrow.
Amen. You just got to show up and keep on doing it. I loved the that just one sentence of, like, the human spirit yearns for beauty. I think that's so true, and probably uh, an, uh, an enormous motivator for many of us here in the space, if not everyone. So yeah. Um, so we're gonna move on to Choin Lee. Hello, welcome.
Hey, hi. Thanks for having me here. I just want to say congratulations on the art festival in Florence the next year. And I myself, I am one of the finalists of the 14th Florence Biennale Open Call contest last year. But there's an interesting story behind that, though, because when I was first invited to show my portfolio to the gatekeeper of the Biennale, I was simply dismissed. The guy didn't want to see it because he realized that I brought a portfolio of art that was on the blockchain. So the guy was like, probably biased against NFT, against whatever it is. Digital didn't understand, but he thought that my work would be like those ape hates or whatever shit he thinks it is. But art is art, and that actually got me really pissed off. And so I tried to look for a way to send my portfolio in directly to the jury, the grand jury. And it took me quite some time to find it. But when I did, I thought, okay, at least I'll get a rejection letter, an official one. But what happened was, instead, is months later, the email came to congratulate me, and I didn't expect it to happen, because they're very traditional. They're not so open-minded. I think because of the gatekeeper. And but in the end of the day, the main jury didn't care, because art is art. And now to see that a year later you're having this digital art festival right there is very, very interesting to me, because we are breaking down the barrier, the ceiling, the gates of these old institutions, bit by bit. And I wish you all the best, and let's kick ass and move forward, all of us, to the future. Okay, back to you guys.
Thank you for sharing, and congratulations on even having the opportunity to present your work in Florence. I know how close-minded some people can be, especially in some parts of Italy and in some parts of Europe. So we've definitely faced that as we've done different exhibitions and events around Europe and around the world. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, we move internally. We have our own vision. We have the horizons that we're expecting to see over the next few years. And we don't follow trends, and we don't really care about working with some people. If they don't want to work with us, we're not going to force it. We're open-minded for collaborations, but if the traditional art galleries don't want to participate, that's okay. It happened during the Impressionist movement. They didn't want to work with the artists because they didn't know how to paint, quote unquote, if I remember from some of the newspapers I read from those time periods. So the Impressionists started doing their own shows, and then eventually they kind of changed the conversation in Paris and around France. So that's just one example I can think of off the top of my head. So, I mean, for us, it's like, why? I don't mind, but I'm not too pressed about participating or having a booth at Art Basel or at Frieze. We just need to do our own thing and inspire the world, like you said, to break down barriers and to inspire collaboration and participation and empowering communities and people that were historically disenfranchised, for lack of better words. And I think that's what the magical potential of this movement is through blockchain, which is after we move out of the art movement phase. It's like, how can you implement these technologies to create more transparent financial systems, more balanced democratic models and systems. Like, there's so much potential to change the world, not just in the art industry or the art world, but across the board on everything in every industry. And that's why I see so many parallels between the Renaissance and what's happening right now, because something as simple as the banks of Florence and Siena implementing double entry accounting and the creation of an actual physical ledger, it allowed their operations to become so profitable very quickly. And so I think I said this in another space before, but it's something I like to remind people, that bankers that were, not very important relative to the time, in less than a generation became more powerful than kings and popes. And so this was like a kind of like breaking down the walls of power around Europe. And then the art movement that flourished and all these intellectual movements that sprouted because of this small change in economic power. I see so many like parallels that's why I want to do something in Florence, so that people see it in person and they can kind of connect the dots and then get everyone thinking about, how do we do this again?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's impressive to bring people together for such a time as this. And it's a live representation of the times. But if we don't do it in person, the message is lost. And so this is very, very crucial, I think. And it's sweet to see that the movement of digital art will create such an impact, with participations like yourself and other companies coming together to help and support what you're doing, which I think is fantastic in such a time, where the impact of economic change is happening, globally. And so this is a powerful tool. So thank you for sharing that, Sinbad. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Sean, for sharing. And next on stage we have Swati. Hello, Swati. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Welcome back, my friend.
Hi, Annie. It's so nice to be in this space again. It's been a while. I'm happy to be here. Hi, Paul. Um,
Hi, Swati.
hi, I followed you back. This is a new account, so you probably
Okay, well,
the old account.
awesome.
X messed up my old account when I deactivated it for a little bit because I was dealing with a lot of injuries and trying to heal, and I had to kind of walk away. So I'm
Well,
happy
I'm
to be
happy
back.
you're back.
Yes, I'm happy to be back. And hi, Sindbad. It's so nice to see you here, and congratulations. I was listening to this week-long, festival, and you're going to spotlight so many artists. And I had the opportunity to meet you in New York, and I know that you had, you were kind enough to kind of reach out to me, and you had displayed one of my works in one of my images in New York, one of the NFTs. So I'm so excited. I'll look out for, when you announce the dates and everything else. That I'm so all over the place. See, I haven't spoken in spaces for so long. Uh, So yes, this is something so great for the artists, and uh, you know, big like kudos to you, and thank you so much for doing this for the art community.
Thank you for the kind words. It's great to hear from you again. It has been a while since I last saw you. I guess that was in April of this year. It hasn't been that long. It feels longer than that. And yeah, I think, as you know, like my goal is to foment this movement as much as I personally can, but working with others who have these similar visions to expand the reach of our of what we're trying to build. And so thank you for, again, sharing your work with us and giving us a chance to display it.
Yeah, and thank you. Really, I mean, it makes a huge difference because, there are so many good artists in this space who are looking for someone to actually find them. And some of them are doing exceptionally well in the real world, but, have not been found here. So, with what you're doing, I guess, so many new artists will have an opportunity to share their work and, get the spotlight that they so deserve. So I think that
Yeah.
this is something really amazing. And Florence is
Yeah.
such an amazing place too, right? So yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising no one's thought of doing something major in Florence yet, but hey, that works for me. But yeah, I'm so excited to see the different artists that are going to enter the space after, our different projects. But also to work with artists that are already in the space. Like, one of my favorite things to do when we do announce the exhibitions is go through the open calls and see the incredible things that people are working on. And I mean, it's a shame that we have to limit the number of artworks we can display because, we'll like some of our collectors in the group and our team will spend hours debating like what are the final 15 out of the final 15 pieces out of 600 submissions. And then we spend hours discussing these kinds of things. And I know some people don't take that much time to go through open calls, but for us, it's really important. And so, like, whenever we select a piece, we really think it fits within the context of what we want to showcase in that specific exhibition. And so I know I see some people in the audience who have submitted work to previous open calls. If we haven't selected you, like, don't think we're not looking. We're paying attention, and we keep everyone in mind. Our goal is to empower every artist if we can. And so wait and hope we will get there.
I'd love to hear that. Shoen had her hand up. Hi, if you had a comment.
Yes, I do. I just remembered that the next Florence Biennale is actually next year. The 15th Florence Biennale is next year, and I like how you guys are coming in right before they have their festival later in 2025. It's gonna be a nice little reportage. I mean, whoever's gonna report on it at a year's end to compare the two. And yeah, really all the best. Let's go fucking kick ass, kick ass.
Yeah, no, I mean the Biennales. The Biennale is the Biennale. Like, I think that there is some merit to the kinds of projects that these festivals and fairs are doing. But yeah, I don't mind making them a little bit uncomfortable with what we're going to be doing this spring. Put a little pressure on them that they need to either adapt to the changing world or we're coming for them. No offense to them. I mean, obviously we'd prefer to collaborate. But if they don't start adapting to this new age, they will be left behind by technology. And I think a lot of them are starting to realize, because apart from the main large galleries that are around the world, most galleries are struggling. Art sales have been declining in the past few years. So I think their industry needs to adapt. And yeah, we will be working with different PR agencies to make sure we make noise about Primavera Digitale. So yeah.
Yeah, one more comment. They are dying
Mm-hmm.
because the old collectors are dying off or dead, and so now it's up to the Gen X and millennials to bring forth this new era of art collection. And I think the physical one is going to win out in the for the coming future. I think. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Back to you.
No, I completely agree. I think that collecting has to change, and with our collectors group, I don't want to speak too much on it, but we try to cultivate all of these different philosophies I discussed today on the space, but kind of really cultivating enlightened patronage, really moving away from this whole buy to flip or buy to make money in the short term, and even in the long term. Like, I think everyone that's in our group, I told them, like, you're not buying this to make money off of it. If you do, good for you. But that's not. I don't want this to be one of your motivations. So I think that I personally categorize collectors in a different bucket than I would investors. and I would categorize them differently from traders. And so I think that we just need to build this next generation of art collecting, and it starts with the kinds of conversations that we're having in person with people that aren't familiar with the space, and it's just setting the standard that we need to move away from the narrative like, oh, you're going to get rich off of this technology, as opposed to that this technology can empower tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people around the world, and art is going to help us get there. Does that make sense?
No.
And I think that
100%. Yeah,
Well
yeah.
said. Yes. Clap for that.
Yeah. I know Annie and I
uh,
are probably collectively jumping up and down hearing you say this. The sentiment is something that I feel like artists have been longing to hear out of the mouth of collectors for a long time. So yeah, for the
yeah, I
final
mean,
time, I'll just say thank you for that, like the
yeah,
motivation and the intention, and um, we see it very similarly, I would say.
yeah. I mean, I think it's possible because we've done it with our collectors group. Like I said, more than 90% of them were not in Web3 as of a year ago, and everyone shares the same sentiment. So I think it's just about the way people that are in the space approach to telling others about it. And if you just inculcate these values from the beginning, then it just starts spreading around in the way people talk about it, and then it's just the standard of why people are coming to be supporters of the art. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but I thank you for having me. This is I don't typically do any spaces. I think this is probably my second or third. But thank you for having me.
You are fantastic. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. I was so looking for you to share the heart behind the festival and what you have going on, because I think you're doing a fantastic job. And so thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being a powerful wisdom share with other collectors. I think they need to hear more from people like you. And I think art and the love of art, like Blue was saying, is what brings us together. Definitely a movement to behold. And so thank you so much for your efforts and what you're doing. For all those that joined, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for showing up. And for those that came on stage, we appreciate your participation in the space. You add so much value to this conversation. So thank you. Sinbad, you are a joy. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors as you continue to join. You are very much business minded when it comes to how do we portray the best art, and moving forward. I think you and your partner, Mr. K, are doing a fantastic job, and I look forward to seeing you in Florence.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing is, if you or anyone in the audience, wants to get involved, wants to participate, and feels that there are synergies between what I was sharing today, please reach out to me or Kay or anyone in our collectors group, the Wait and Hope Foundation. We'd love to involve as many of you as possible. Obviously, we need to discuss what that would look like, but we're open to any and all collaborations. Like I said, we want to build a unified front where we're all working and pulling in the same direction. So please don't hesitate to reach out. If I don't answer, bother me. I will eventually get to it. And then remember to wait and hope.
That's amazing. So great. So great. Well, here at the Light Art community, Light Art is a member of Me Llamo Art Foundation. Together, we're empowering artists, inspiring collectors, and building community together for arts. And so, thank you so much for being here. If you're not part of our Discord and you would like to be a part of a Discord, you're welcome to join us. And we have a link posted here so that you can go ahead and take a look. We love to share art that's shared on our shared channel, our art shared channel, which you'll see here. And we also have bi-weekly newsletters that we release with our spaces, but then together with other art and news that comes up throughout the week. And so please stay tuned, sign up, be a part of this movement. And with that, Simba, we wish you the best. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate you. Paul, any last words?
No, just a big heartfelt thank you to Sinbad for your time and for your insights and for yeah, your conversation. It was refreshing, and glad I got a chance to know you more. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. We'll speak soon.
Have a great Tuesday.